It's time to get ready, ladies and gentlemen, because I know very clearly that we are going to begin to see a turn of events both ways. One direction that we don't want, and then the other one, I believe that there is an encouragement. I believe there is a momentum that's getting on the righteous like we have not seen in a long time. I want to encourage you right now, if you would, please consider sharing this, invite people to it. Also, download the Joseph Z app. The reason is we've got a lot of material we're going to begin to put out to you. And if suddenly you don't see us on some of these wonderful platforms, you'll be able to find us every single weekday morning there as well. Now, one of the things I want to say is I gave a prophetic word even just recently about how just like there was the Southwest Airlines pilots that began to stand up, and then also the truckers, if you remember, almost, I suppose, 6-7 months ago, I began to prophesy the truckers would stand up actually last October, and then they did at the beginning of the year. I believe the same word, and I've released this word, is going to happen now with farmers and agriculture. And this has already begun. And I shared that word just even over several days back, began to put it out. And as I did, people began sending me articles and different information. And right now in the Netherlands, you're seeing farmers stand up and they're beginning to push back against some of the issues coming against them. And so that word is happening. We'll keep our finger on the pulse and see where that's going. I wanted to say to you today that Jesus wants you to live, move, and have your being. And never before in history have we been in the position we're in right now on a global scale. And we're going to begin to see some tremendous turn of events with this. Now, something I really want to get into is this understanding about, number one, the Supreme Court. And then I want to get into the conversation a little bit, God willing, maybe I'll get into a little bit about Cern. And then in addition to this, I want to talk to you about this shaking up. Get this, the Supreme Court is honestly doing a little bit better than I had thought they would even do in this time. It's an answer to prayer. You're seeing victory begin to come out of this. And in addition to all of these circumstances, the Supreme Court is actually pushing back against what I like to call the alphabet agencies, okay? Where they're coming against all those ones that say, hey, we need to, stop the environmental alphabet agencies or the identity alphabet, scenarios and whatnot. You're seeing a pushback against that and a stopping of some of that, and it's wonderful to see. Now, that doesn't mean there's not going to be a backlash and things won't turn, and some of it is a false narrative. But listen, I do believe that there is going to be indeed still a waking up and a breakthrough for many people. Now, something I really think is necessary to talk about is this understanding here. Let me show you something here if I can real quick. I came across this, and this is such a delight, just class act. Can you imagine? I don't know if you saw that Myra, they say, some people call her Maida, but Myra Flores just was recently at a political thing where they are celebrating her win and all this. And Nancy Fancy was standing next to her daughter. I don't know if you've seen this, but she's standing next to her daughter. And in this thing, you begin to realize that she gives her little daughter a shove. Nancy Pelosi decides to go ahead and shove Myra Flores' daughter. Now, if I can, I'm going to show this to you, and let's see if this will work for us here. Let me see if I could show this to you. You're going to love this. This is so delightful. Nancy's just a class act. So here, check this out if we can. Let's see if we can see this. Can you see that? You see the fancy one here? Fancy Nancy. Let's see. Here we go. Can you see it? So here she is. Look at this. Giving the little daughter a shove. Isn't she a delight? One more time. Let's try again. With her elbow. Shoves the little girl. Elbow. Shoves the little girl. That's Our Lady. I don't know if you could see that, but Nancy just totally shoves this little girl, Myra Flores' daughter, like, get out of my way, because that really shows you how she is, and how she acts towards people. A little shove with the elbow, a little pushing around. Nancy, the fancy Nancy. You'll have to look that up yourself, the videos there, but I saw that and I thought, that is just absolutely horrible that she would do something so bad like that. And these people are just awful in many areas. Now, another thing I want to talk to you about, and this is something I don't have all the information on, but it is something I think we need to consider, is this whole topic of what's going on regarding Cern. Now, we brought this up a little bit yesterday, and I got into it a little, but I want to talk to you about Cern, and maybe another time I'll actually break some stuff down on a whiteboard and really show you what I mean by Cern. But there is some serious issues going on with this. And the reason it concerns me is because indeed with what they have happening in regards to how it's altering things that are taking place in the culture, what's taking place in our environmental setting, and how it's taking place in almost what some people believe is an interdimensional issue. And what do I mean by that? Of course, I'm going to get into some very unique things. Well, interdimensionalism, when you start talking about it, number one, look at the culture. Popular culture is talking about it all the time. You know, you see the Marvel films talking about the multiverse. You see all these things that are coming out and beginning to really introduce us to things. But in the culture we live in, sometimes there is art that tries to imitate or warn us about where things are going. Now, I don't know fully where this starts and stops, but I'm going to go into it just a moment here. And the reason I'm going into it is because I want to go into it deeper, maybe in a studio fashion where I can really show you what I'm talking about. But Cern, again, is this giant hadron collider. It's about 300 plus feet underground. It's a giant ring or circle that's under the ground. And what they do is they fire these particle physics. They fire particles at one another at nearly the speed of light. And when they do this and they begin to fire these particles at one another, they collide. And in the collision of these microscopic particles, these barely discernible particles that collide at the speed of light, upon their collision and however they explode, whatever takes place, they're able to look at them and discover things about how our universe was formed, where stuff comes from, all that kind of stuff. This is how they found what they call the Higgs boson, the God particle. They found all this stuff. They're looking for dark matter. They found so many things like this that begin to explain how things are held together and why things are held together. Now, the only issue I have with this is that, number one, at face value, it's fascinating and it's understanding. Cern also was talked about by Stephen Hawking. You remember Stephen Hawking, the paralyzed man who would speak from the computer, and he was very brilliant. He could figure things out, whatever, right? Stephen Hawking, though, said they need to be careful with the tests they're running there because what they could do is create miniature black holes. Get this. Now, this is by one of the leading voices of intelligence in our lifetime so far, okay, or in our generation. And he said they need to be careful there because they could actually, this is a verified voice talking about this, he said they could create black holes in that facility that would consume the earth. Let that sink in for a moment. They're over there playing around with stuff that could absolutely consume the earth. Dun, dun, dun. Nobody wants to consume the earth in a science lab. Nobody wants to mess around with particle physics and begin to destroy the whole earth, okay? So Cern, what is concerned with me, what I'm concerned about it is that there's going to be a lot of this. Now, somebody's commenting and saying there's many types of these facilities around the earth, and that's true. There's some in the U.S., all this, but the main one and the famous one is over there by Switzerland. Now, here's what we recognize. When this one is being fired and things are happening, I'll try to show this to you another time because I don't have the capacity to just show this to you. But there's videos showing not only occultic practices that are happening there, the celebration of the opening of Cern and all these occultic things and all the scientists that are dressing up like demons and whatnot, celebrating this. And they say, oh, it's just a celebration. It's just this, it's just that. And the problem with it is if it's just a celebration, why are all these scientists dressing up like a bunch of occultic worshipers, celebrating everything from what looks to be Baphomet, which is a demonic, entity, to several other interdimensional discussions going on, or art. They're doing an art form of interdimensionalism, demonic stuff. Nothing about it is godly or even remotely good, anything you'd want to be a part of. And it's just spooky, wicked, and it looks demonic at every level. Why would they celebrate like that when they're just talking about particle physics? That's one question. Another one is there's a video where somebody was videotaping from a hotel room or through a window, and they began to see what was either a faked scenario or legit, and still they argue for it. They say, oh, it's just just something they're messing around with. And here's what this person saw. They were looking through a window, and I'll have to show this to you guys sometime if I can dig it up. They were looking through a window, and they showed what looked like the sacrifice of a young girl or a young lady out in the public square at Cern. A bunch of scientists were gathered together, and so much so, it looked so real that the person who was videotaping it shrieked and ran away from the window, and they were videotaping it, and it looked like they stabbed someone to death at Cern. Now, that's like on YouTube, okay? And I don't know if it's still there, but here's my point. And then when the video was put out and they exposed it, you know what happened is they said, oh, no, you don't understand. We were just playing around. It was just for fun. Well, number one, if that's true, and they were just playing around for fun, what kind of fun is that? Why would you go through all the motion of people being in robes and pretending to kill someone in a satanic ritual, all right, at Cern? And these are just a few of the things that are going on there. Now, another thing that happened, and I'll show you some of this, God willing, in the next few weeks when I get a chance to, is that they interviewed one of the leading scientists there, and they said, hey, as we're beginning to understand what's happening in the world and all this, we need to know that with our studies at CERN, we are opening up scenarios that something could be sent through to another dimension, or something may come through to our dimension. This is straight up by some of their main people there. So what's happening there? Now, let me just kind of bring this to where I want to go with it. We'll be talking about this off and on a little more as we get into it. And I want to show you more than just verbal, breaking down of what's going on there. But here's the issue that I have with it. One of the big things that's taking place is that they are going to open up interdimensional portals. This is something they're talking about. And I know this sounds like, the movie Stargate, which is kind of what some people feel or potentially feel that they're after, is to open up portals that will bring darkness here. Now, some biblical scholars and different prophetic voices take it as far as to say that this is indeed what the Bible talks about as the bottomless pit being opened up and Abaddon coming out and Apollyon and all this wickedness out of the book of Revelation that's coming forward. Now, there is something happening with it, and I have hope with this. If you'll hang in here with me for a moment, I'll tell you what I sense and what could be taking place, but we just need to begin to pray because Jesus trumps all this mess, okay? No matter what they push, no matter what they say, Jesus overcomes it all. But here's what they're doing is they're working all this stuff out with it, and what could be happening is you begin to alter the narrative as this stuff happens. It's true. People are talking about Stranger Things on here, which is a wicked show. Man, that show's wicked. I don't like anything. And they're like, no, you don't understand. It's like, well, even if they say, well, the plot is it just gets, fine. And you find out what it really is that they're showing you. It's actually no big deal. Yet you still see and sense and feel things, no matter what the plot is, that's really wicked. And they're showing you all kinds of vile, demonic garbage in that show. Or anything like it. I put it on with Allie because all the young people are talking about Stranger Things. And so I watched some of it and I stood up and I said, we will never play something like that in our house again. I bound you, devil, come out, and the TV went into convulsions. Ah! I'm just kidding. Now listen, here's what we recognize though, is that there is these things happening. And what I think could be taking place is this CERN narrative could be changing things even in a narrative where they alter some reality. There could be things that are happening. Now, some are speculating this, and I'm not completely decided on what is what there, but nonetheless, I'm hearing people that are a lot smarter than me talk about it, and yet I still feel this sense that there's very difficult things that they're releasing into the earth through this. And there's a reason God doesn't want humanity messing with things. And you say, well, that's weird, Joseph. Why would you bring this out? What's the point? Well, I believe this has happened over and over again in history, throughout the history of mankind, such as going all the way back to Genesis chapter 6, where they're talking about the sons of God came down and messed with women. Things happen there. At face value, that could be, in other words, an interspecies breeding, where they began to create giant monsters. You see that in Genesis 6, and then the Nephilim show up, and these giant people like Goliath eventually are on the scene, and David had to kill them and many people like them. In addition to that, you see the crazy narrative going on, pay attention to what I'm about to say, in Genesis chapter 6. In Genesis chapter 6, it talks about how they all came together and created something, and I believe it was from a ziggurat, this giant flat top pyramid, where they began to go ahead and say, we are going to make a tower that reaches to the heavens. Now, this tower that reaches to the heavens in Genesis chapter 6, talking about the Tower of Babel. That's right, TV convulsions. The tower, funny comments on here. The Tower of Babel is not something that was so high that it went up into space. That's not the point of the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel, what I believe, was a ziggurat. It was a flat top pyramid that you see the Aztecs, Mayans, all these people used. And what it really did is it began to create access, unauthorized access to the realm of the supernatural. In other words, they went into the spirit without being verified. They weren't allowed to do it, but they did it anyway because they were in one accord. They did it to the point that God had to come down. It says, we need to go down. The Lord, the Trinity, came down and had to strike their language, okay? Now, I think this is something the devil's always wanted, wants mankind to take, take supernatural access into their own hands, which is really what witchcraft is, which is where you get a lot of the usage of medical issues and unverified biblical medical issues, meaning stuff that's not authorized or used by God. God doesn't want you using. And what that does is you begin to access the realm of the unseen, which is where you get pharmakia, all that supernatural stuff, or witches mix potion, yada, yada, yada. My point is this, that if there's unauthorized, when scripture talks about rebellion is equal to the sin of witchcraft, what that means is when people begin to authorize the use or access to the realm of the unseen or the spiritual realm or interdimensionalism without God involved, it's no different than the Tower of Babel. Okay, the Tower of Babel is where they begin to step into the realm of the unseen or access supernatural things without God. And this is potentially what Cern is doing. This is potentially what Cern is doing. Now, I'm not an expert on this. I'm not trying to overstate things I don't fully understand every detail to, but I do believe something's going on here. And as this begins to happen, we need to watch this, we need to pay attention, and we need to be praying. Because what could take place is if you begin to alter frequencies and alter all this stuff that's going on in the world, then it can begin to alter the culture. And then, there's this term called the zeitgeist of the culture, meaning it can change the mood of society, and it can begin to mess with people and the equilibrium of how people function. So here's what begins to happen, is culture goes crazy. Now, where does that start and stop? Well, I don't have a perfect answer for that, but I do want to say to you, some people feel that it is intensely reality. They feel like it's really where things are going and where things are, and could even be the cause of weather patterns, issues like this, all that. So you can go way out there on a limb on this. That's not what I'm trying to do, but I do want you to be aware of it because they are trying to alter the narrative in the culture today with some of these things that happen. So Cern shut down in 2018. And just this past several weeks, it fired back up again, and they're going to be running some very serious tests with it into the summertime. Okay, July is what I really hear is happening. In July, they're going to begin to really run some more tests with it, and they're going to begin to try to do some more of their events. Now, there's some wild days coming. Things are happening, but no matter what takes place, Tower of Babel, anything that's unfolded, even you got Saul messing with the witch of Endor, trying to access the realm of the unseen in the Old Testament. In the New Testament, it's different. Jesus closed the door to many of those things. And of course, you can check that out in my School of the Prophets if you want to really learn about all this stuff and go down that road. So here's what I really am saying to you today. Jesus is Lord. There's a lot of strength coming, and I do believe that we're going to see an unprecedented pushback, but we're going to see light and darkness colliding like never before. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to shrink back. Jesus is Lord. Now, I do believe wickedness is just going to keep rising like it always does. It's just going to keep trying to do what it does. But yet the Lord Jesus Christ is here to bring strength, favor, and great breakthrough. Now, one of the things that I feel stirred to do more than ever before, is to go against this present evil age, is to stand against the darkness by preaching the gospel, by preaching prophetic journalism and all this. Now, for the next several days, I'll probably be live like this, broadcasting this way. We have a lot of really great studio stuff coming up for you. We're developing, we're taking territory. The Spirit of the Lord is on my life right now. And I believe that us and our team, we're really taking some advanced steps into what God's calling us to do. So I'm kind of on assignment. I'm doing a lot of things where we do what the Lord leads us to do and all that. And I thank you for your prayers and what God's calling us to do, because we have a great capacity that we're stepping into with great power. Now, more than ever, also, I feel that we are to go ahead and get a hold of the young people this generation. So I want to encourage you to join the fight with us. I want to encourage you to stand with us. Some of you are tithing here. Some of you are standing with us that way. I encourage you to go to josephz.com and become part of what God's calling us to do. Please download the Joseph Z app. I'm going to try to get it where we can communicate to you, even have text messages through it. We're not able to do it today, but we're going to get there. We're going to do a lot of things through this app where we can communicate that way and more be there in addition to these larger platforms for now. But did you know right now, listen to me, please hear this if you would. Did you know right now we have over 3,000 subscribers to our app alone? And that's by the passive ways we've just mentioned it. And we haven't even taken it really into its potential yet. And that's just to see things and watch videos and all this. But we are going to take that up a notch, and we're going to begin to make this thing really great. People are asking me about President Trump. You guys want me to speak about President Trump? Want me to talk about 45? Well, let me say this. There's a lot of people sending me prophetic words saying, this prophet says that Trump's going to get back in this year. This prophet's saying he's going to get in this time, that time. And here's the issue I have with all this. Is for the last 2 years, they've said he's going to get in now, this month, next month. This is what's going to happen. Now, if Trump gets in 22, listen to me. If he gets back in 22, wow, that's amazing. I just need to tell you, and I'll thank God, because it's a lot better than the Manchurian candidate we got right now. If he gets back in, that doesn't defy anything I've said, nothing. I think that's wonderful if something changes the narrative. But here's what I want to say to you. I've not seen that. I just haven't seen it. And a lot of people are saying, no, thus saith the Lord, he's coming back today, tomorrow, all this. I just haven't seen it. The only thing I've seen is 24. And in 24, he's either going to do it or he's going to empower somebody else to do it. And that's if everything's equal, and it probably won't be. They're going to try to shake things up. So here's what I want to say is we need to be praying, we need to be standing, and we need to be rising and shining. And I think there's a lot of things that we've got to keep our eyes on and keep our hand on the wheel with, okay, so to speak. People are saying, Joseph, yesterday on the live broadcast, were you driving? No, my wife was driving. The camera was flipped like it is today. That's why this spell's kind of funny looking, right? Because it's reversed. So no, I'm not driving, and I'm not in the passenger seats, okay, today. So listen, Jesus is Lord. A lot of strength is rising out of darkness for you and I right now. I'm very encouraged. I feel like there's going to come an economic moment of grace. Economic grace is going to be on the nation because of this Roe v. Wade overturn. Because Roe v. Wade was overturned, I believe there's going to be an economic grace that's going to come on the scene right now. Now, that doesn't mean a lot won't shake. There won't be crashing, this, that, or the other thing. But what I am saying is it's not going to be as bad as what it could have been. But because of this overturn of Roe v. Wade, here's what I think. I think the Lord's going to give grace. I think there's going to be the ability to begin to see some victories. And as we've said for the last year, there's going to be, for lack of a better word, there's these micro wins that would accumulate into a roar. Well, the roar is here, ladies and gentlemen, and the roar is you, and it's going to continue rising out of darkness. So praise God. All these things about Trump or Elon Musk or any of these people, just simply remember this. We're believers in Jesus first. And these people, whether they do what's right or whether they do whatever's supposed to be happening or not, here's what we recognize. You and I are here. And I don't worship any man or follow any man. I follow Jesus Christ as Lord, period. And I'm here to just report in what God's calling me to do. And so I think there's a lot of things that will begin to, I think we're just in for a lot of shocking turns and surprises, but just like this overturn, that means a lot of good can happen as well, a lot of good. So we've said there'd be backlash. It's here. I said the farmers would rise up. We're seeing it already in the Netherlands. There's many things that are going to continue to come out. But I have to tell you, Jesus is Lord and victory is here. Right now, my eyes and my heart is watching what's happening with the Queen. And it might not be now. It might be over the next year or next season. I don't know. But all I know is I keep having this unction about that. I'm really keeping my eyes on Benjamin Netanyahu. We've prophesied about all these guys for the last, I suppose, 9 months or so. And all of them. And there's just a lot taking place with all these leaders around the world right now. And so I'm following this. And many people are starting to join on with the ministry because they've watched this for a few years and they watch us prophesy and then it come to pass. They watch prophecy and it come to pass. And I don't think we're all that. I really don't. I'm not impressed with me, but I'm highly impressed with Jesus Christ. And I'll tell you what, keep following Jesus. You read that Bible, you stay in that, and I will be here every weekday morning, God willing, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, to continue bringing you prophetic journalism in real time. And Jesus is Lord. I really encourage you, please, if you would, share this video, subscribe to all the pages, like and follow us on Facebook. And if you would, if you're a partner, thank you so much. And if you'd consider partnering today, if you want to become a partner, go to josephz.com. You can text the keyword give to 719-259-0029. I encourage you to do that today. We need your help. We're going after things. We're building things right now that I'm not going to fully bring out just yet. We're building some tremendous things and resources that I believe are going to help rescue a generation with prophetic journalism and the light in darkness. And I think some very powerful things are coming out. So if you want to begin to if you want to begin to tithe here, people have asked us that, and so I'm only answering the question. People are going to stand with us that way. I encourage you to please consider standing, partnering today, and let's go build lives by the voice of God. Let's rescue a generation. Join the fight with us. And if you would, please consider sowing, partnering, and standing with us today. And you can do that by going to josephz.com, or you can text that keyword give, or download the app and email us. Email us info@Zministries, or just go to the josephz.com website, and that's all the information you need is there. And I encourage you to do that. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for reposting this. I'll be live quite a bit this week. And of course, the following, we've got a lot to get into, and I got a lot more things I want to talk about, but you can only take so much in one video. So I bless you guys. Jesus is Lord. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, 7 a.m. Please repost this if you would, share this, and follow all of our platforms. I'm on True Social, @OfficialJosephZ on Instagram. Subscribe and follow us on YouTube. And if you would, please like and follow us on Facebook. I love you guys. Jesus is Lord, and I look forward to seeing you again. And thank you so much for partnering today. You will hear from us. Our team will reach out to you. They'll be praying with you. They'll be loving on you. You will hear from us if you partner, and you'll be getting all kinds of good stuff going on soon. So you'll also hear from us, and we're going to be doing more newsletters and all that good stuff. God bless you. Jesus is Lord. Repost this. And of course, when you partner here, you're helping us with that plane, and the plane is on the way. It's a simple aircraft, and it's going to make it so we can travel for free to all these churches, and it's going to be a great blessing to rural communities. A lot more coming on that. So thank you so much for helping us. We're believing that we're going to get that thing paid off over the next year. We don't have it in our possession yet. We've ordered it, but we're going to try to pay it off over the next year before we take possession. So it's still a process. Thank you for standing with us.